Hey, seventh graders. Welcome back to math. It's April 22nd. Let's go ahead and get ourselves set up with some notes before we start. Just as a reminder, the questions below this video in the Google Forum will all be covered within the video, so make sure that you are watching the whole video from the beginning to the end to make sure that you're earning these 3 points, okay? Today we are working on solving inequalities with word problems. We've done this before in class and we've practiced the same set of skills when we last week solved equations with word problems. So today what we're doing is combining what we've been practicing with inequalities to what we have already practiced with word problems and equations. That is our job today. We're going to complete a few practice questions. I guess my pup Kennedy doesn't want to be in the video today. That's fine. I'll just do it by myself. We're going to do a few practice questions together. All of the work that we do here will prepare you really well for your independent practice for those last 6 points of your assignment. So here's question 1. I'm going to go ahead and pull up a timer. I want you to complete this question on your own. And as always, if you need a little bit more time than what is given to you, please take that time just by pausing the video. So we're just selecting the inequality that matches the story in this problem. So I'm just going to put 1 minute on the clock to do that. Your job is to read and select your answer, taking those notes on your paper for what's helpful. Please begin. About 15 seconds remaining. All right, let's go ahead and review the answer. This one says a taxi cab charges a flat rate of $3 in addition to $1.80 per mile traveled. So when I read this part of the problem, this sounds exactly like it did for an equation. So a flat rate is that constant term in my equation or inequality, and that 180 per mile. Sorry, my printer. Can you guys hear that? My printer just started making noises. Okay, that 180 per mile indicates that variable term. So per mile, multiply, right? So I'm looking at these and I'm seeing that flat rate, the constant term, and then the variable term, which changes based on how many miles I travel. It says in addition to, and I'm just thinking like the rate of like the fee, the flat rate at the beginning when you hire the cab, and then the additional cost for mileage, I'm adding those together. So I'm going to go ahead and eliminate B, which has subtraction, and D, which has subtraction. That doesn't make sense in this context. And then I've got Jennifer has no more than $25 to spend on a ride. So I'm between A and C, and the question is which one? I'm looking at the inequality signs. I'm noticing they're flipped. So let's talk about what that means. There is a key phrase in question 1. The key phrase in question 1 is no more than. No more than. That key phrase tells me a lot about this problem. I know that the cost that I would pay on the taxi can be no more than 25. 25 is the maximum amount. So what is less, the amount I pay or 25? Yeah, the amount I pay is less than or equal to $25. Okay, so the answer choice, the correct answer choice here is C. Go ahead and answer question 1 on your Google form. Which phrase from question 1 did we discuss was a key phrase? The phrase we discussed discussed was a key phrase was no more than. So go ahead and scroll down and select that answer for question 1. All right, we are ready to move on to question 2. All right. For question 2, same thing. You're going to read a story and you're going to select the inequality that matches it. Let's see. Yep, I'm going to give you 1 minute. Go ahead. Have you spotted that word we were talking about that means multiply or tells me about my variable term? Last 15 seconds. Please have your answer choice selected. Awesome. If you need more time here, go ahead and take that extra time now by pausing the video. All right, so we've got a savings account. You know, with a savings account or whenever you open a bank account, you start with some account balance. So if you don't put anything in the account when you open it, the balance is $0. This says Tito opened a savings account with $100. That means right at the beginning, he handed the bank $100 and he said, I need to open a savings account with this much money in it, right? He saves $25 per month. That word per is the word that means the variable term, right? $25 times however many months he's saving for. We don't know how many months he's saving for. We do find out that he wants to have $700 saved. So this question said, which of the inequalities below can be used to find the least number of months it will take Tito to have $700 saved? So would it be okay, would a solution to this inequality leave me with only $600 in the account? No, Tito wants $700. Would it be okay if the number of months that it saved gave me, I don't know, $710 per month? Yeah, it would be okay to have $700 exactly or anything that's greater than that. That's why you see this greater than symbol. It's like at least 700. Okay. These other inequalities, I'm looking at C and I'm noticing that my total is 100, not 700. That one doesn't make any sense. I'm going to go ahead and eliminate C. I'm now between A and B. Notice the difference between the constant terms and the variable terms. We know since it says $25 per month that that is the variable term. A is my correct answer. Okay. The work I showed looked like this. Awesome. Pause here if you need to update your paper. Let's move on to the third question. All right. This question is not just read the story and pick the inequality. This question is asking us to do a few things, so I want to read it with you together. A 7th grade student wants to read at least 300 pages. That's a key phrase, at least 300 pages of a novel this week. He has already read 55 pages. An inequality that represents the situation is 7x plus 55 is greater than or equal to 300. Awesome. So I actually didn't even have to write an inequality, but I like to pause here and make sure I understand where everything came from. What does the 7x represent in this story? If you're not sure, think about just what does x represent? X represents how many pages per day the 7th grade student is going to read. What does the 7 represent? The 7 represents the number of days, right? It doesn't explicitly say that, so it's a tricky question, but it says he wants to read 300 pages this week. So if he wants to read a total of at least 300 pages, then he has 7 days to read it because he gave himself 1 week, okay? What does the 55 represent in the story? The 55 represents the pages he's already read. So he's 55 pages into the novel. He has a goal of at least 300 pages, and he's going to read the same amount every day for 7 days. Okay? Thinking about what each part represents is a really good way to make sure we're understanding the story as we're going. First direction, solve this inequality for x. That's our first job. Second direction, using this solution, identify a number of pages that the student could read per day in order to have at least 300 pages of the novel read in a week. Explain how you know that your answer is appropriate. All right, so I've got really 3 parts. I've got solve, I've got identify a number of pages per day, so identify a solution, and then I've got explain how I know that that's appropriate. So 3 main parts here. I'm going to put 3 minutes on the clock to answer this question. And I'm going to do it with you in about, where's my mouse? That's exciting. In about 1 minute, if my timer is working correctly, then we'll come back together and review just the solution before we come all the way back together. Okay, go ahead. All right, let's go ahead and pause there. I'm not sure why my mouse is not working. Ooh, found it. Okay, let's go ahead and pause there and take a look at just the solution. So at this point, you should have solved the inequality and got x is greater than, less than, greater than, equal to, less than, or equal to a number. If you're not there yet, please pause the video. Okay, here's what my solution looks like. I started even writing the next part. I got too excited. When I was solving, I subtracted. Did I need to flip the inequality symbol here? Nope, subtraction does not make me flip the inequality symbol, only if I multiply or divide by a negative. I don't end up having to do that here. 245 divided by 7 is 35. My solution, the first part of the answer for this problem is x is greater than or equal to 35. Okay. Go ahead and take a moment to copy down this work if you need it, just by clicking pause. Awesome. We're going to take the last minute and 52 seconds to finish up this question. The directions are still up on the screen. Go ahead and get started. So this part that you're answering now, there's a lot of correct answers. So you're going to identify one possible number of pages that this student could read per day to meet his goal. Right, at this point, if you need a little bit of extra time, please take it just by clicking pause. Awesome. Here's what I was thinking. I know this inequality x is greater than or equal to 35 means that he could read 35 pages per day because 35 is a solution to this inequality. He could also read any value that's greater than 35, like x could equal 36. Is it true that 36 is greater than or equal to 35? Yeah. He could also read 40 pages because I know that 40 is a solution to this inequality. 40 is greater than or equal to 35. The student could read 36 pages or any number greater than or equal to 35 pages. So your answer does not have to be exactly mine here. You can pick any value that's greater than or equal to 35. Could you pick a number like, I don't know, 37.5? Does that make the inequality true? Yeah, that's a true statement. Does it make sense? Could you read 0.5 of a page if you're reading a novel? Absolutely, right? You can read half a page. So actually any value, including the non-whole numbers, would be a correct answer as long as it is greater than or equal to 35. Okay. All right, and then how do we know our answer is appropriate? You could have written a lot of things here. Here's an example of what your answer might look like. This is appropriate because 35 times 7 is 245 plus the 55 he already read is 300. If he reads more than 35, he will beat his goal. Okay. Awesome. I'm really excited for this last question, question 4. This will be the last one we do together before your independent practice today. All right. I can see the direction here, write and solve the inequality to find the maximum number of sessions he can use, show your work. That's what you're going to do on your paper. I'm going to put 2.5 minutes on the clock. Please go ahead and begin. I want to pause us here. The reason I want to pause us here is to talk about the inequality symbol that we're going to use. If you've already chosen your inequality symbol, keep listening. If you haven't chosen it yet, pause the video, choose it, and then play the video when you are ready. This problem says I've got a fee, just like the taxi, and I've got a $10.50 charge for each help session. So I am imagining adding that fee to 1050 times the number of sessions, so 1050x. And then I see budgeted $170. Do you know what a budget is? A budget is like how much money you can spend on a certain thing. So if John is budgeting $170 for the computer help service, it means he could spend $170 on it. Could he spend any more than that? For example, could he spend $200 on the computer help service? No, that's not how a budget works. A budget means a maximum amount. Could John spend less than $170 on the computer help service? For example, could he spend $150? Yeah, that would be okay. He can save some money there in his budget and put it somewhere else, right? So it's okay to spend $170 or less than that. So when you're thinking about your inequality symbol, we need to think about the amount that he's spending. Go ahead and make an annotation with me. The amount that he's going to spend, or the amount that he's spent, and this is his budget or his maximum. So I want you to think which of these things needs to be less and which of these things needs to be greater than the other. Is it okay for the amount he spent to be greater than the budget? No, we said he couldn't spend more than 170, right? Is it okay for the budget to be greater than the amount spent? Yeah, if he only spends 150, we said that was okay, right? So that tells me I need to use an inequality symbol that shows that 170 is on the greater side. Remember, the alligator eats the bigger meal, right? So this says $25.50 plus 1050. Oops, I forgot my X. Make sure that's on your paper. Is less than or equal to 170. Okay. Now your job is to solve this inequality and come back and meet me with a solution. We've got about 2 minutes left. Last 40 seconds. It's okay to use a calculator on this question. All right, let's review our answer. So when I worked on solving this inequality, I had to subtract and then I had to divide. And maybe you noticed, like I did, that I got a decimal that wasn't a very nice decimal. I got it didn't terminate on my calculator screen. So my solution started out as x is less than or equal to 13.7619. So now I've got to think, I'm going to round my answer off for this problem. And I actually have to think about the story or the context of the problem. This X represents the number of help sessions. So this says that whoever that guy was could pay for 13.7619 help sessions or anything less than that because X is less than or equal to this number. And I know that I can't actually order 0.7619 of a help session. That doesn't make sense. I can have one help session or 2 or 3 or 4, all the way up to 13. John could not have 14 help sessions because 14 help sessions is greater than this number. And 14 does not make this original inequality true, right? So I have to round down because I have a budget, right? X is less than or equal to 13. So John can have 13 help sessions for his computer help service. Very exciting. In your Google Forms today, there are a couple of questions you have left to answer. Which inequality symbol was used in question 4 from the video? I just had those notes up on the screen, so just pick which inequality symbol was there. And finally, our question of the day, again, is a multiple choice question. There are 4 answers, all of which are sort of covered in the video. The question of the day is, why did we use a less than or equal to sign in question 4? why did we use a less than or equal to sign in question 4? If I go back to my thinking, in question 4, here's my less than or equal to sign. The reason we used it is because the amount of money spent needed to be less than or equal to the budgeted amount. Okay. So if I'm looking at my Google form, let's see, we're not talking about pages read. I don't know why my mouse isn't showing up. We are saying A, the amount of money spent must be less than or equal to the budgeted amount 170. Okay. Awesome. Folks, you have a minute practice today to complete. If you need help, please see Ms. Russell at office hours. I'll see you here